I was in court on Monday, and this was expected, and it sounds like it would be fun. It was not fun. I get nervous before these things, but then once it was over, as soon as the papers were signed, I was very much more relieved, much more at ease. I was in court on Monday for the guilty plea of the fake cop. So this gentleman, as you can see, sentence and penalty imposed. Now, normally, you would have several stages to a trial, and this would have been a status conference, and the status conference would have said, here's his defense, or here's how long we think it's going to take to get to trial, here's what discovery we need, here's how much time we need. And then they would set a date for trial. We'd get a jury together, we'd put on the trial. And then if he's found guilty, then there would be another status conference for the sentencing investigation, then a sentencing hearing, and then the sentence would be imposed. So another 6 months or so, or more, depending upon how complicated it is, before this guy would have seen a trial and then a sentence. So this is what happens when someone pleads guilty. We don't have any of that 6 months process of a fact-finding trial, which is where the jury finds somebody factually guilty of a crime, and then the judge finds them legally guilty based upon the jury's finding. This can also be done as a bench trial where the judge is both a fact finder and the finder of law, or the decider of law. And then it goes on for sentencing, and then the judge will have to choose what sentence is appropriate within the state's sentencing guidelines. In this case, Pennsylvania has sentencing guidelines for these things. So instead of pleading guilty to all of these things, let me bring this up: terroristic threats with intent to terrorize another, simple assault, impersonating a public servant, harassment, disorderly conduct, and reckless driving, he pled guilty simply to simple assault and impersonating a public servant. This should have the effect of eliminating his right to own firearms. I'm not sure if that's forever or just for a period of time until a court expunges the record, which I'm guessing is at least a number of 5 years or something. But it should prevent him from owning a firearm. And it also results in a lower sentence than would have been imposed had he had to plead guilty to all 5 or 6 offenses. Now, why do you do things like this? Am I soft on crime? Leonard French is soft on crime. I mean, I'm sure that's an argument that someone could make, because it's true that if you are speaking relatively, this was a softer penalty than the system could have gone for. However, what's the risk? The risk along the way is maybe something happens to Leonard French. Maybe I'm no longer a good witness, or maybe I can't authenticate the dash cam footage. Maybe they could find a way around that. So maybe that's not such a great thing. Maybe he finds a plea or something that works for him. He'll plead guilty, but with temporary insanity or something. I don't know. There's risks along the way that anything like that could come up or happen. And then there's other risks that someone could make a mistake. What if the DA just simply makes a mistake? What if they don't file something on time? Or what if the cop says something and now there's a doubt as to whether this is the actual guy that was on the video or not? Well, this is certain. This guilty plea is certain. It is cost certain, risk certain, time certain, effort certain. Everything ends with the guilty plea. Well, not actually. He actually pled guilty to the thing, then had his sentence imposed immediately. He waived his right to that sentencing. Remember I said there were 2 parts. There was the fact-finding thing, and then there was the sentencing thing. He waived both, so he got his sentence imposed on the same day. So some of this is, we had an open and shut case, so why should we push for everything to be guilty and all that? Do we really need him to be guilty of all those things to have a effect on his future that is positive for everyone? I think it shifts. I think it crosses the line. I think it is not a binary choice where it's on one side or the other. I think that you want to be in the center, and the sides are the extremes, and you want to be in the center because that's where reasonableness is. Let me give you an example. This guy had no prior offenses. He has a family, he has a job, he has a degree with a trade school, and he has a job in his trade or working towards his trade or something like that. And I'm not going to really go into anything more personal. What if he feels that he was overly punished? What if we go for all this and he gets 5 years in jail? Make it worse. Let's say he gets 10 years in jail. Do you think maybe he's a little pissed off now that he got overpunished for what he did? Maybe. And I'm just saying that at some point you have a more harmful effect on the perpetrator, the defendant, than you do if you find something still a punishment, but more reasonable. And so his punishment here is 3 years probation. That's because the judge couldn't impose more than 4 years. And Pennsylvania does not have a policy towards jailing people for offenses like this. These were jailable offenses at some level, but not really as a first-time offense. So Pennsylvania already was not going to be jailing this guy for much, if any of this. Let me put it back up on the screen so you can see. But the 3 years probation. So in case you're not clear or don't understand or don't know what probation is not getting off or anything like that. It doesn't just mean that they monitor you and make sure that you don't do drugs or something. I mean, those things happen, but what you might not be aware is that if you violate your probation rules, your conditions for probation, it is as if you are violating with the original crime. It's not like you're committing the original crime again, but the violation brings the original crime back up. And you already pled guilty to that. You've already admitted it. You've already pled guilty. There is no, oh, wait. Since I violated probation, let's go back and have a trial. No, you already pled guilty. So you get a sentence imposed based on the underlying crime. And the judge imposed this guilty plea and this 3-year probation sentence as 2 consecutive sentences, one after the other. So I don't know which one's which, but for the first year and a half, it'll be probation for the first offense and for the first count or whatever. And the second 1.5 year term will be for the second offense. So if he violates, he's violating really for one crime, not for both crimes. That is ever so slightly lenient, but I was okay with that. The defendant apologized. He seemed contrite. It was kind of hard to tell. We needed to speak through a translator, but he seemed like he realized that the best way through this was just to plead guilty and grin and bear it and get on with his life. Like I said, job, family, support system, and all that, and seemed to be contrite. Didn't seem to be worse. The judge and the DA did bring up that he's very lucky that I was of cool-headed nature and did not draw my firearm and shoot him or otherwise escalate the situation. So I felt pretty good that they were on my side there. That has not always happened. You can't. I'm not speaking about these officers or this situation, but people have had tough situations with the police, and so I can understand why people are hesitant. And even I was a little hesitant when I was going into the trooper barracks. I wasn't sure if this was going to be received as a, well, what did you do? Which was literally what a trooper had said to me when I reported an aggressive driver previous time. I'll leave that out of this. So what does everybody think of that? The guy avoids jail but has 3 years of probation.
Yeah, chat seems to be thinking that he that he got off kind of light. So I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about what are some of the implications of being on probation, because this means like he probably has to meet with a probation officer regularly, and this could affect his ability to travel. You know, like if you're on probation, you might not be able to leave the country.
He has to get permission to travel. He has to be in contact with his probation officer a certain amount of time, once a month or something like that. If he violates probation, which is very simple, you can violate probation for something as simple as taking prescription medication that's not on the list, even if it is prescribed to you. So, without revealing any, I don't think it's confidential information anyway, but without revealing anyone's confidential information, I knew someone once who they had avoided jail. They were on probation for a drug-related offense, and they were taking like I forget what it's called, but it's one of the drugs you take to help you come down off of opioids.
Methadone?
Methadone. Something like that. I forget exactly what it was. It might have been something. It might have been that. It might have been something like that. It was by prescription from the doctor, and the person was still considered in violation of the probation and had to serve 3 weeks in jail for the violation. I think it was 3 or 6 weeks. And it was, the jail was not hard, cold bar jail. Jail was a rehabilitation facility, involuntarily committed for treatment for the opioid addiction. I'm not sure what, because I didn't look into it any further. I'm not sure what the conditions of the probation were. Obviously, that methadone or whatever medication was not on the approved list, and there might have been a reason for that. Maybe people use that to help cover up for using drugs or something. I don't know. Or maybe someone said that they didn't need rehab, but then is getting the prescription medication that you would use for rehab, and maybe the court doesn't like that. The court wants you in an actual rehab facility. I don't know what the situation was there with that specific case, but that was a violation of probation, even something that light.
Honestly, with all the hassle of a trial and the crime, he didn't actually attack you, which is really good. I think I'm happy with it. He learned his lesson. He probably won't be doing it again.
I think there's a good chance that he will not recidivate, and that he will look back on this as something stupid that he did, that he might still feel in a way about. I'm not saying that a person can't feel, like, I don't know what he thought he was going to get away with, but I definitely didn't play the game the way he expected people to play the game. And that's unfortunate for me, and unfortunate for him, and unfortunate for society, because of things that have happened to me in the past is why I didn't trust him in the first place. And I'm glad that I didn't escalate things any further, but it's... you don't want to say things out loud and then have them be used against you later, but I've been in weird situations before, and it's just so hard to know when to stay. I mean, staying calm is a good idea, but when to react with force or violence and when not to. And I am truly afraid that I am much more like that Canadian trooper who did not react and got shot, rather than I don't want to be on the other side of that. That's really what that's about, is I don't ever want to have shot somebody who didn't deserve it. I'd rather be shot first or attacked first or whatever. But then again, isn't there some place in the middle, like we were just talking about? Like, couldn't I just train and react properly? But the situations are so varied. Who could have predicted what I had to deal with and how fast it was happening?
Yeah, did you even see the wrench? Was it did you see it when he was walking up to you while you were in the car?
No, I did not initially see the club or the steering wheel lock. I saw that when he finally got to my window, and he could have simply broken my window or whatever, before I even saw him, and then I would have started reaching for a firearm. He could have, if he was more aggressive, very easily have subdued me before I could have reacted. I should have been paying attention, should have seen him get out of his car, and should have drawn my firearm immediately. However, if I did, you don't draw a firearm, you don't mean to fire. I'm very sorry.
Yeah. Leonard French doesn't want to become a national news story either, do you?
No, I don't. And it would have been the racial thing too. He's, darker skinned and I'm lighter skinned, and that fits a lot of people's narrative. Yeah. So, I mean, what I wish would be happening right now, and I don't mean that I want anybody to celebrate me, but I mean the opposite is not happening. People are not like, hey, wow, look at, a white guy didn't shoot a black guy or whatever, Latin, Hispanic guy. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't expect that. I don't want it. I'm not saying I want the attention. What I'm saying is, like, it's so interesting to notice that, when the situation is successfully done, there was almost no interest. Even the local news station, I have a friend at one of the local news stations, and he was like, yeah, we should talk about this. And they were like, nah.
So one newspaper covered it on their website.
Yeah, a couple covered it like briefly and then never followed up. And then I followed up with them and said, hey, I'm here, I'm available, I can be interviewed. And they said, yeah, thank you, we'll get back to you. Never heard from him again. Where it was most popular was World Star. That's where it got to 100,000 views in 20 minutes. And I recently got the copyright paperwork for that, so we might be pursuing a license fee from World Star if they don't want to pay a basic license fee.
There was one question in the chat asking if he had given any motivation or any reason for why he did it.
I don't know if I don't think I had skipped over this, but I might not have drawn attention to it. He would say that I brake checked him, and that's what caused his angry outburst. Of course, the first thing the DA and I pointed out, and the judge actually didn't even need us to point this out, the judge brought it up before we did, was, well, you had the lights in your car before Mr. French did anything. Now, at the pleading guilty hearing, nobody needed to ask me, did you brake check him or not? But just in my defense, I don't brake check people. I realize that that's dangerous, and I've seen the videos and everything. However, I will slow down, and I will strategically move my car, not illegally, but, just I'll speed up a little bit, I'll slow down a little bit. I'll be a basic asshole to block you if I think you're being an asshole to me first. I don't do it to everybody, but I really, really, really hate driving because of assholes like this, and sometimes, it's satisfying to be an asshole back. And I was an asshole back to this guy. And I apologize for that. I'm contrite. I should not contribute to somebody's bad day. However, we did Dr. House it a little bit, and we revealed that the patient had a problem that needed to be solved. You can like me, dislike me for that as you see fit. I understand that what I did was not right, and I don't even really do that anymore. I will still a little bit, but I won't do it to be an asshole. I'll mostly just, if there's somebody tailgating me, I'll just slow down a little bit instead of, slowing down a lot. What I don't do is slow down a lot quickly or anything like that. I don't brake check. I do back off the gas, drop a couple miles an hour or something like that. In this case, the guy was tailgating me, and I backed off the gas, and then he, swung out to go cut around me, but there was traffic in front of me, so I just sped up a little bit, and he couldn't go around me. So then he had to swing back in behind me, and I just continued to go normal speed. You can see the video for yourself. I left the whole thing in there. The initial thing where he honks at me, that's it. Like, that's the brake check or whatever that he says that I did. You can see that I didn't brake check him. I definitely slowed down a little bit and then sped back up. You can even hear the car. None of that's hidden. I did not hide any of that from you. But that's what he's upset about. Or
and
was
you're not
upset
the
about.
only person. Like, in my hometown of Streamwood, there is a main road that goes through the center of Streamwood, but it goes through the development that Streamwood was founded on. So it's 30 miles an hour. It's 2 lanes, so like 1 lane on each side, and it's got a solid yellow line in the middle. And it's called Streamwood Boulevard, and it's one of the main roads, but it's only 30 miles an hour. Nobody goes 30 miles an hour on that road. Okay, yeah. But everybody. When we got tailgated, when we were driving down Streamwood Boulevard, we would absolutely go 30 miles an hour to teach them a lesson. Like screw you. Yeah. You're getting to your destination 5 minutes later now, like, because you're being an asshole.
Yeah.
I know to chat, especially in the beginning, said he got off light in the beginning, which, I mean, obviously also coming from a school teacher perspective where kids are misbehaving. Like, I remember last year in the beginning of my student year, I basically did report a boy that's done something in my class that I'm not going to mention, and he got punished severely, and in the end also his education suffered because he was banned from my class for about 5 weeks. So I love it how in this case as well you're able to find a balance, something that's going to stick to him. He has to be responsible for 3 years, and from, I don't think actually you mentioned it here, but from what you told me, he also already took steps towards his anger.
Oh, right. Yes. Good. Thank you for bringing that up. So something that lawyers do, the judge would recommend it too. But if your lawyer recommended it and you did it before you got to the sentencing hearing, they're going to look favorably upon that. And so he signed up for anger management courses. He said that they don't start for a week or two. I don't know, end of December or beginning of January or something. And he's already signed up, though. So he signed up for anger management courses. He got letters of reference from 4 of his current and former bosses, and he is apparently not losing his current job. So yes, I think we did the right thing there as far as giving him an opportunity to have a future and be rehabilitated. Does that mean that he has a chance to recidivate and be bad again? Yeah, he could do it tomorrow. He could have already done it. I don't think he's going to, but we have to find that balance and take those chances.
Still, I mean, he's stuck with it for the next 3 years. I mean, and I firmly believe if he's able to keep up his behavior for 3 years, then it will have positive effects for his future after that. Because, I mean, someone is not all of a sudden, after 3 years, say, like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to be back to being an also impersonating cop again.
He'll be 39 years old or so when he gets off of probation. I thought maybe he was younger. I definitely understand the sentiment that the world is a crappy place and you got to take some control. But you take control legally, not with flashy lights. It was never made clear whether he had flashy lights. So some people are doing the cannonball run, right? Like some people are like, I'm going to get a thing that looks like a cop car and I'm going to try and drive from New York to LA in 33 hours. And I'm going to do it with radar detectors and binoculars and cameras and spotters. And we're going to try to average 111 miles an hour or whatever, right? So that's absolutely freaking nuts. And I've seen that some people will try to do that and they'll put some illegal things in their car to do it. I'm not saying they do it with flashy lights, but I could imagine that flashy lights would be a quick way to get someone to just move out of your way while you're flying down the road in something that already looks like a cop car, right? So maybe this is a person who was just sick of the traffic around here because it's pretty bad, and they were just like, sometimes I need to get by, so I'm just going to flash my lights at somebody and they'll move over and I can get by. Maybe that's all it was. Nobody said that, though. We never went into why he had flashy lights. The other one, of course, is to pull people over and take advantage of them, steal from them, victimize them in other ways that YouTube doesn't monetize, and worse.
VinWiki. Well, you mentioned the cannonball. That's how I learned all about the cannonball run.
Well, I've watched some of the actual cannonball runs, at least part of them. Obviously not all 33 hours, but summaries and things. What was the other one where someone tries to go around New York City in less than 30 minutes or something?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Some of the stuff they do is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't endorse any of that. We can prove our performance in other ways without endangering public safety.
Yeah. And
as much as fun as I'm sure it would be, but none of us can afford to close down highways for a true cannonball run unless we really organize the heck out of one and somehow kept all the contestants together in each leg. I don't know. That would be really weird to close down major highways for a day at a time.
Part of the fun of the cannonball run, supposedly, is that you have to deal with that stuff yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's definitely fun, but then it's also a huge public safety hazard. Somebody does one stupid thing and you're having 100+ mile an hour collision. Yeah. People die.
And hopefully the anger management course gives him the tools he needs to deal with this in the future, you know.
Yeah, I hope it's not a BS anger management course. All right, everybody, that's our show. I'm going to go pack for my trip and drop the dogs off at my parents', and I'll see you guys from Scotland. So have a great Sunday, a great week. I'm sure that I'll see you in a special live stream sometime Monday or Tuesday when I get my portable equipment set up. Thank you very much to our Patreon supporters. Thank you to Justin Rogers, who has sponsored us at the $500 level. Really appreciate all your support there. Thank you very much to Jonathan Doe, Jonathan Steele, Gavin Barnard, Kyle Mudrak, Eevi, Andy, Verement, Tayne, William Gonzalez, Michael Pearce, Terry Crisp, Richard Fournier, Breakfast Demon, Spirit Bear, Jan Negrey, JAXMerrick, and Daniel Perez for your support in December at the $50 level. And thank you to all of the named $5 plus supporters at the that are on the LED panel behind me, and I'll put a crawl or something on the screen for you. And I believe there's a total of over 400 of you Patreon supporters supporting us on patreon.com. So this week we'll have some short videos with those two that we just did, plus I'll be making some new things for you. And we'll have an update on the Lawyer Simulator trademark as well, which was denied. And I'll explain what happens next and what we're going to do there. So anyway, love you guys. I am Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and I will see you later. Bye.